We're live.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending the first town hall to hear information and provide some feedback to the strategic bridge plan process. I'm going to start off first by introducing our president, Dr. Lauren Blanchard, who is going to offer a few remarks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beebe. So it's an absolute pleasure for me to be able to join you here today. And this is one of the first groups that it feels really good to say that I have been welcomed so warmly into the University of Houston downtown community, and that I definitely claim myself as now being a part of the Gator family. So thank you all so very much. I fully understand that I'm arriving at the University of Houston downtown at a very exciting time, but also I know that it's been a challenging time, especially with the pandemic and all the ways in which we've had to hit the pause button, even in terms of all the work that we've been working to accomplish with our bridge plan here. So today really is a special day in my mind, meaning that we are able to come out of the pause mode, largely due to the fantastic work of a number of individuals, for which I'm not going to have the pleasure of being able to name each one. But I know for a fact all of the work that's been undertaken by faculty and staff and students in preparation for today's meeting, and more importantly, in preparation for the finalization of the actual bridge plan. We just simply can't thank you enough. And I know that today is designed for us to, for me, to listen very carefully to the feedback that you'll have, as well as listen to the presentations, brief presentations for each of the core areas that will be represented in the bridge plan. I just want to quickly say that we have received positive news from SAC COC regarding our new courses and programs that the faculty has spearheaded. So that's even more good news. And we are also experiencing some change to our landscape that will enhance our community and the downtown community. I will even say that even here at the University of Houston downtown campus, as you well know, that we were compromised by way of the winter storm, and several of our elevators have been down, which have made it very difficult to navigate through the building, especially for a new person trying to get to the 9th floor has been a challenge for me. But I'm very pleased to say that today, for the first time, the elevator that I needed to get on is repaired, and I was able to get up to the 9th floor without having to use any breadcrumbs. So there is progress, but there's even further progress on a lot of the more critical elements for which the bridge plan is one of those. So I just want to say that I look forward to the opportunity to not only talk more about a lot of the good things that are happening and to get a chance to meet each and every one of you, but also I want to make sure that we are able to continue to focus on setting ambitious and comprehensive goals for the University of Houston downtown. And this is really one of those efforts underway with the bridge plan to get those goals in place, because I know more than anything else, we want to continue to ensure that this university is growing, and not only growing in number, but more important, continuing to grow in excellence and quality. And this plan will help us to do that. So thank you very much. And I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Beebe, and I look forward to listening in on all the great comments to come, and more importantly, to meeting everyone in other venues.
Thank you, Dr. Blanchard. And just again, welcome, and we're glad you're here. I just want to give a very brief overview of how this will work. Each of the working groups will be provided 15 minutes to present and offer some time for question and answers live. We will also have question and answer available that you can write in those questions that you have or the feedback that you have, and each of the working group panelists has the ability to respond to those in real time or let you know that further information is needed and they will get back to you. So without further ado, let me introduce Dean Marzilli and Dr. Ashley Blackburn, who are the working group co-chairs for the Student Success Working Group.
Hello. I'm hoping that Ashley, I can't see Ashley's video. Oh, there's Ashley. All right. I wanted to, welcome you all. This has been a really exciting opportunity to work with such a remarkable team of faculty and staff as for the last year. I mean, it's been a full year since we have been working on this bridge plan, and it's been great getting to know individuals that we previously haven't met before, and to be able to actually get so much feedback from when we originally did the bridge plan to what you saw in the video that Ashley and I prepared, and what we'll give an executive summary on today. But before I go forward, I do just want to again say thank you to every single one of our student success bridge plan team members. Ashley and I are the ones that are presenting this today, but none of what we were presenting today could have been done without the remarkable teamwork that we've had. Ashley and I are gonna share the presentation. We're gonna hit some highlights of the presentation that is already recorded for you to see. And then there'll obviously be some time for questions, and any questions that we don't get to live, Ashley and I and the rest of the Student Success Bridge team will make sure that we get those questions and we respond back to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and start, and then Ashley will jump in. So goal 1, student success: advise, retain, and educate an increasing number of students who meet the workforce needs. I think that we can all agree that we are here to support our students and help them come here and change their lives and generations to follow them. And a lot of almost everything that we do wraps around student success. So what we'll be sharing again is our approaches that everyone in this university has contributed to. And when we talk about the highlights, and everyone in the university will contribute to as we talk about some of these stretch goals, some of these ambitious goals that we would like to see over the next number of years. So if I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to talk about some of the student success highlights.
So good morning, everybody, and thanks again for being here. I wanted to go over some of the highlights you see here on the slide. Just some of the things that we have already done and that we hope to build upon in terms of student success. So you see some of those listed here. We have at the university level our Retention and Graduation Standing Committee that is made up of faculty and administrators from across the university, brainstorming and thinking about ways that we can improve our retention and graduation rates for our students. We also have made some changes, not only due to COVID, but also in a way to improve the orientation content and process that the students receive as they come in, both for new freshman students and for transfer students, and have also provided that college focus where the colleges are talking specifically to students who are interested in majors within those colleges. We have our academic coaches and our peer mentors and our supplemental instructors, all of whom are doing a wonderful job working with faculty and students to improve their learning experiences and their ability to instruct in the classroom, whether in the online environment or hopefully when we return to campus as well. Our academic recovery program, such an important program to get students back on track, off of probation and on a path to successfully graduating. And of course, targeted interventions, and we'll talk about populations who we may need to think about and brainstorm ways to use those interventions for as we move through this presentation, and also using predictive analytic tools to identify other populations that may need targeted assistance. And then for transfer students specifically, we have our new our accelerated transfer academy, and also building learning communities so that when transfer students do get to UHD, they are already connected with a network, a community of students with whom they can learn, engage, and hopefully continue their studies with as they move through their time here. So I'm going to pass it back off to Dean Marzelli to talk about objectives 1 and 2.
All right, so just real briefly on the outcomes, I'm not going to go over because our time goes so fast. I'm not going to go over everything, but I think one of the highlights that you'll see from our presentation that we provided and on this slide here is that there has been a tremendous amount of work that was just highlighted by Ashley related to different things moving the student success bar forward. And what we've seen is in the last 4 years, a 79%, almost 80% increase in 6-year graduation rate. Again, a 31% increase in the 4-year graduation rate for transfer students. We see a 12% increase in first-year retention, a 19% increase in second-year retention, and a tremendous increase in the number of full-time and part-time faculty members that are utilizing the CTLE on campus. And that number is actually even outdated just recently because of the remarkable job that the faculty and the administration, coupled with CTLE and the TTLC, so much training went on over the spring and summer and fall for to lift the level of online, hybrid, and high flex learning. So these numbers are even just when we did them, they're even a little bit out of date, but it's just remarkable outcomes. To Ashley's point on the next slide, even though we've had some really outstanding outcomes, there are some disparities here, and really the disparities are that the female students are significantly outperforming the male students across all ethnicities, and so you can see that in these different groups, the difference between male and female retention. And then that translates to 6-year graduation rate. So we've talked about, highlighting this, making sure that this is on everyone's radars as we move forward. And one additional situation that we're probably we didn't talk about here, but is also first generation, making sure that we have very strong programming for our first generation population. So if you go to the next slide, that's really our objectives. You'll see very quickly, these are based on targets from 8 SACs and 11 national peer institutions. But I want to highlight, and the committee wanted to highlight, that you see it for the first time, really, this talk of 4-year graduation rate. We are at a point now where we believe that with the processes in place, we can get to 25% 4-year graduation rate. And then by getting to a 25% 4-year graduation rate, we wouldn't have to talk about 6-year graduation rates as much anymore, because if they don't graduate in 4, they're graduating in 5, or they're graduating in 6. And so, we're really going to push to try to streamline and get the students in and provide pathways for them to graduate in 4 years. But you can see there's also stretch goals of 40% in the 6-year graduation rate and 70% for transfer students. The next the next slide just talks about, the next slide just talks about where we are for retention, where we want to see our retention, our first and second year retention. I've been sharing with the committee some data and with the deans that we at this university do not have a retention problem. We really, a persistence problem. We have a progression problem where students are not progressing at the rate that they should be at. We have a lot of students that are graduating in 7, 8, 9 years. So we can work on that. So we want to maintain our strong retention rate. And we do want to increase our second to third year retention rate, but all of this is predicated on reducing the probation rate. Our last year probation rate for the first term was 36%. And that equates to about, anywhere between 2 and 5% of those students that are on probation graduating in 6 years or ever. And so we really want to work hard to put programs in place, supports in place, to support students being successful that first term and first year as a freshman. So I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Blackburn and for objective 3 and 4.
So our final two objectives focus on student support as well as faculty professional development. And so for objective 3, we're really looking to achieve student satisfaction or improve student satisfaction rates with student support services here on campus. And you can see some of those listed here. And one way that we wanted to gauge student satisfaction is by implementing a survey so that we can collect that data, analyze it, and figure out where improvements may be needed. But ultimately, we're looking for an 85% or higher satisfaction rate among our students, all of our students, both on campus and distance or online, with the services they're receiving on campus. And if we go to the next slide, it'll be our final objective, objective 4, where we're really looking at faculty development, which Dean Marzelli alluded to in a previous slide. So we really want to engage full-time faculty, and I think we've been doing that so well in professional development opportunities through the CTLE and other centers and offices on campus to 50%, and then also engaging our part-time faculty and professional development opportunities as well. 100% of part-time faculty taking at least one advantage of at least one professional development opportunity, whether that be an onboarding program or a workshop offered by CTLE by 2024. So that concludes the presentation for student success and our objectives, and we're happy to take any questions that may have been put in the chat or that are available for us in the time we have remaining. So we have one question in the chat, and I'll read it, and then Dean Marzelli, it may be a question you can answer. So it says, I believe the data shows that the DFW rates are considerably higher for students in online courses than for those receiving instruction face-to-face. As we come off a year with almost all instruction being delivered online, there is concern that we could start to backslide with retention graduation rates. Is that a valid concern? And if yes, should that be reflected in the retention graduation rate goals shown for 2025?
You know, I think that is a great question. I think we could go a step further on that question and basically say, how is the pandemic in general going to affect our retention and graduation rates? We've already seen that fall of 2020, so the FTIC 19 cohort was retained at about 6% less than the previous year cohort. And we've looked at persistence from fall to spring in this most current cohort, FTIC 20 cohort, and we're down 7% from where we typically are from fall to spring. Now, I know that there's concern, and trust me, everyone that is from deans to provost to, I'm sure, President Blanchard, to everyone on the student success group, we're all concerned about that. There are some things that we know, though, about that data. We've been able to take all of those names and we sent them to the National Student Clearinghouse, and the majority of those students are not anywhere else. They just stopped out. And so we have campaigns going on, and at least starting, we will have a more full-throated, a reclamation project to find out, can we get these freshmen back? Can we get the freshmen that opted to take a gap year or just stopped out and maybe are going to a community college? Can we get them back? So I agree that's something that it is concerning, but I think that we know who these students are. We know them, we know who they are, and I think that we can reach out to them and continue to talk to them and get them back on track. So yes, it may affect overall goals, but I think it's still okay to keep those goals there for 2025.
Excuse me. So we're down to we're right at 15 minutes, Dr. Marzilli and Dr. Blackburn. Please feel free to, I noticed that there were some questions in the Q&A that were not able to be answered. Feel free to respond to those while the next presenters go ahead. And we're gonna go ahead and start with our next group, which is student access. And their panelists are Brian Blackwell and Emily Leffler.
Good morning, all. My name is Brian Blackwell. I serve as the manager of the contact center. With me today is Emily Leffler. I'd be remiss if I didn't also include Dean Usman, who has been instrumental from a high level of support with conversations that this group has had surrounding student access. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and get started. So this group was tasked with focusing on student populations for student access. And just to make sure that we all understand the groups that we're referring to, the first group is the FTICs, which are first time and college students, transfer students, graduate students, international students, and the veteran student population. We were also tasked with reviewing 3 objectives, which are as follows. First objective was to enhance the number of quality of entering undergraduate students while maintaining the university's commitment to enrolling a diverse student body. Objective 2, to enhance partnerships with community colleges to increase transfer student enrollment. And finally, objective 3 was to increase graduate, international, and veteran enrollment. So we reviewed the expected targets for the fall 2020 term that were established in the previously published 2015 to 2020 revised strategic plan. And this presentation is in response to those targets. Our recommendations regarding this recommendation is how regarding how the university might approach forming targets in the future strategic plans. And for example, although UHD has experienced enrollment growth over the past 6 terms or 6 semesters, and notably during the pandemic, the community colleges that serve us have not. And so we see that as a potential threat to future enrollment. However, we are excited that regarding our international student population, that not only at UHD, but nationwide, we are now regaining the confidence of our international student population. As many of you may know, over the last probably 4 to 5 years, the United States has not been seen as an international friendly place. And so our hope is that due to new changes and leadership nationally, we can regain the confidence and the trust of that international student population and begin to see some growth there. As far as the recommendations of the student access group, as it pertains to enrolling and attracting a higher professional or a higher quality student, we recommend moving away from some of the previous more traditional methods, such as high school class rank, and possibly even the test scores, ACT and SAT. One thing that the pandemic has done is that it showed us how flexible we can be. Not only UHD, but colleges around the campus have done away. They have not required the SAT, ACT because students are not able to take the test. And they've gone away from class rank, as most schools are not reporting class rank for various reasons for high school students. For the transfer student population, we recommend a strengthened relationship with community colleges. And by that, we mean we want a culture of a relationship where we pipeline students from the community colleges directly into UHD, to where it's a seamless process that we just know that HCC is going to deliver if we have attractive programs for them that they need, as well as revised articulation agreements. So it's important that transfer students who are really, really interested in knowing what exactly will transfer once I'm ready to leave the community college setting, making sure that we have articulation agreements in place to where they don't have to think about it, where the counselors on the community college side are equipped with the knowledge to know what programs we have here at UHD, and that again, that they are transferable once they pipeline those students here to UHD. Regarding our veteran student population, they weren't captured in the previous revised strategic plan. We definitely need to include them moving forward, and we recommend highly trained staff that can recruit, advise, and see this group through the enrollment funnel. This group has very, very special needs. They're often, if you work with them, the most diligent students. They're going to come prepared. They're going to come with their folder in hand. They're going to show you their DD-214 and all that information, but we still require a special type of personnel that can meet the needs, be empathetic, and see this group through the enrollment funnel. So that includes the objectives, the recommendations by the student access group. At this time, we'd be glad to take any questions that you may have. If there are no questions, thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Moving on, remember, if you come up with something along the way, please use the Q&A option and someone will get a response back to you. We would like to now move to programmatic advancement with Dr. Cueva and Dr. Musali.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here today with my colleague, Dr. Cueva from the Programmatic Advancement Subcommittee, and I'm just going to offer a really brief intro, mostly a thank you to all the folks who have worked on this. I joined this subcommittee partway through the process in the transition in the Provost office, and so I have greatly appreciated all of the activity of the committee. We have a really active group, and you'll see their names on one of the slides here, so if you have any questions, they are all up to speed on this, so please feel free to reach out to them as well. And I also appreciate all the efforts at the university level to kind of move this forward. I know it's been a large undertaking for a lot of the folks in the leadership positions, and so we've appreciated that, the conversations and the support that we've had. Programmatic advancement is so central to what we do at the university, and we've had some great results in the past couple of years, and I know that folks are still working on a lot of things that are going to be coming through in the near future. So I'm excited about what's happening in the area of programmatic advancement and the potential for UHD, but I'm going to let Dr. Cueva talk about the specifics of our planning and our vision. So I'll turn it over to him.
Great, thank you. Once again, welcome and good morning. I do want to thank one person in particular, Dr. Dune, who bravely volunteered to do our video. She's all set for Hollywood. Terrific job. So our mission was to look at national and regional, to look at our programs to make sure that they align with our vision, which is to develop nationally and regionally prominent academic programs. And the group who was in charge, next slide, please, is listed here from across the university, across the colleges, administrative and staff individuals, of course, are very, very helpful. So if we look at the programmatic advancement itself, next slide, please. We underwent a gap analysis, and this is when Dr. Koja was co-chairing the committee with me. And what we saw was that it's very evident that the stakeholders at the university and in the community are very dependent upon the university and our faculty to offer relevant, high quality programming. And we've been in contact with community and industry partners to do this. And in general, we've been incorporating marketable skills to meet the needs of Houston and the industries in the Metroplex. Next slide, please. So what does this mean? Since the last version of the strategic plan, we've developed 3 new undergraduate programs, one graduate program, and 15 graduate certificates. For example, the MS in data analytics. Very importantly, and Michelle can speak to this, we've established and documented program and certificate approval policies and processes. So now if you go to Curriculog, you'll see that there's a revamped site with all sorts of instructions and that guide you quite well through the process in creating any type of certificate or degree or concentration. We've also had 100% of our degree programs through continuous improvement plans include at least one AAC&U essential learning outcome. And we've also received funding to develop 2 competency-based concentrations within the BASAA. Next slide, please. Now, what do we want to do in terms of our objectives? So our first objective, excuse me, of course, is to expand the programmatic offerings. So we're looking at developing 6 new undergraduate programs to bring our total from 44 to 50, develop 6 new graduate programs to increase from 9 to 15 programs, to develop 12 new credit-bearing certificate programs for a move from 15 to 27, and to develop continuing education programs to meet the local needs and requests. Next slide, please. We also want to enhance and expand online and off-campus programs. Excuse me. So we have as our targets 6 additional online undergraduate completion programs, 2 additional online graduate programs, 5 additional active undergraduate programs, and to integrate best practices in our online education across programs, relying and asking for, of course, from the expertise from the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence and also our IT folks. Next slide, please. We also want to continue to assess the core curriculum. We want to close that loop. I know that a lot of assessment is done on campus, but we actually want to make sure that that assessment leads somewhere, it feeds back into the improvement of the programs. So we want to sort of take this process, and you'll see this process over the next couple of slides. We want to identify, we want to work with faculty, and we want to report. So if we go to the next slide, please, for objective 4, we want to continue to identify, integrate, and enhance high impact. And we're going to take the same sort of steps. We want to document, we want to work with faculty, and then we want to report out on the impact that these different initiatives have on the curriculum. Michelle, any comments?
No, I think, again, we know this is a really high level summary and hope that you had a chance to listen to Dr. Dune's fabulous video, but we're here to answer questions, and we're happy to take any specific questions. So I'm going to answer this one live. So do we have a process for reviewing existing programs to the point of being open to phasing out those that might be producing very few graduates? So a couple of responses to that. We actually are in the midst of a conversation. The provost in the fall put together an ad hoc group to talk about a program review process at UHD, and we have been in discussions. We met with some focus groups in the fall, and we will be, we've shared with the provost, he's in some conversations, and we hope to share this out with the general community, some of those ideas, looking at maybe a policy. We want to try to run some pilots to see what kind of a process might be best for us at UHD to integrate into what we already do and leverage the components of our programs that are very successful. On another level, at the graduate level, we do reviews based on coordinating board guidelines. Those are now every 10 years. And there is a process for identifying what are known as low producing programs. And so those are monitored by our Board of Regents at the undergraduate level. And so we do have regular conversations about that within the university structures for a number of reasons.
It seems that there are no more questions. So thank you very much, Dr. Musali. Thank you very much. And once again, good morning.
Yes, thank you, Drs. Cueva and Musali. Moving on, again, just a reminder, if something occurs to you, please put it in the Q&A and someone will get a response to you. Our next group is research scholarship and creative activities, which are Dr. Johnson and Dr. Guerin.
Good morning, everybody. So we're going to start off by having Dr. Gehring summarize some of our accomplishments in research, scholarship, and creative activities. And then we will summarize some of the many recommendations that we have for Goal 4 research, scholarship, and creative activities. Dr. Gehring.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you all to talk about research, scholarship, and creative activities. Through our gap analysis, we came across so many amazing accomplishments that we have done here at UHD in this area that I'd like to share with you. So the research, scholarship, and creative activities informs what and how the faculty teach, and it's critical to the instructional mission of the institution. And UH faculty are highly qualified and skilled experts in their discipline. We found nearly universal challenges when it comes to faculty time, their ability to have time to actually engage in these endeavors, the university research infrastructure, as well as faculty compensation to do these activities. But despite these challenges, UHD faculty support course-based and independent undergraduate research opportunities as a high-impact educational thrust. UHD has also enjoyed annual growth and grant awards over the last 5 years, with awards that blend traditional research, equipment and infrastructure, education, and student support. UHD faculty excellence in research, scholarship, and creative activities has been recognized by the awarding of multiple Fulbright scholarships, the Pushcart Literary Prize, government fellowships, and the designation of one of our faculty as the Houston Poet Laureate. UH faculty have discovered new extinct and extant species. They've been awarded multi-million-dollar grants. They blended pedagogy, scholarship, and creative activities in the development of internationally distributed pedagogical comic books, and published numerous renowned peer-reviewed articles, chapters, and books.
So our current Goal 4 for research, scholarship, and creative activities broadly articulates that we will recruit, retain, and support a highly qualified faculty and encourage faculty research, scholarship, and creative activities to enhance our culture and contribute to the regional development. The overall outcome for 2020 was focused on bringing in $4 million in research expenditures, which is a very traditional research-focused goal. Our existing strategic plan outlines 4 broad objectives for this goal. One is to increase faculty participation in peer-reviewed research and scholarly and creative output. A second is to actively recruit and retain highly qualified faculty. A third is to enhance the academic culture of the university. And finally, to encourage and support new funding opportunities. We are proposing a number of changes to those objectives to be modified to acknowledge the actual identity of UHD. And some of our recommended changes for Goal 4 include, but are not limited to, some of the ideas that I'll express in just a second. But we would refer everybody to the video and the PowerPoint that was posted for Goal 4 because it does a much better job of articulating all of our recommendations. So first and foremost, what we'd like to propose is, rather than a small group of us proposing new targets, we believe that we need to engage in some campus conversations where faculty, staff, and student stakeholders can define a new vision for scholarship, research, and creative activities on campus. Specifically, we need to envision what the role of research, scholarship, and creative activities plays at a teaching intensive, primarily undergraduate, minority serving and Hispanic serving institution, and how we further enculturate the inclusion of graduate and undergraduate students in the research enterprise. We also believe we need to develop a a comprehensive and flexible faculty workload policy that allows faculty to have flexibility in teaching, service, and scholarship so that they can actually increase and maximize their output and their agency in the research, scholarship, and creative realms. We also propose that we modify these objectives to focus on the inclusion of UHD students in the research enterprise and to focus our efforts on how we impact students through these activities. We suggest that we dedicate institutionally more base funding to build the research infrastructure on campus to support those new visions. And to also develop an equity-minded faculty recruitment, hiring, and retention plan to diversify the UHD faculty with qualified individuals from marginalized groups and to better reflect the diversity of the student body and Houston at large. We also recommend that we increase faculty salaries to be commensurate and competitive with our national peers, and to engage the campus in a conversation about areas of focus and pillars of excellence for scholarly output. So for example, we found through our gap analysis and through our interviewing that a number of faculty research programs and trajectories intersect in the broad area of social justice. So once we identify some of these areas of focus and pillars of excellence, we need to leverage those areas and pillars of excellence for targeted strategies for securing external funding, and to also integrate that into our marketing and branding campaign. And then finally, to engage in a campus conversation to redefine external funding goals that are specific to the mission and vision of a primarily undergraduate teaching intensive university. So with that, we'll entertain any questions or comments you might have. I don't see any questions in the chat. So with that, feel free to reach out to us if you think of any questions afterwards, and we'll turn it over to the next group.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Gehring. Our next group is going to be Jacob Lip and Dr. Gulati. That is not what it says her last name is, but I don't want to butcher it. So without any further ado, we're going to allow them to present for external partnerships.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Thank you all for being here today. As Bobby mentioned, I'm joined by Dr. Gulati. And I also want to take a moment to recognize the other members of our team. We don't have a slide for this, but Dr. David Branham, Jesse Lopez, Lisa Olson, Talina Sabito, Monica Villarreal, and Dr. Dietrich von Beidenfeld. Thank you all for all of your help with this process. I'd also like to recognize Dr. Devanna Fulton and Dr. Lori Lovins, who both left UHD in 2020 for other opportunities. We won't go through all of our points today. I do encourage you all to watch the video and check out the other materials for some of the details that are available. But what really this external partnerships objective is about is telling the story of the university. While really all the prior components of the strategic bridge plan really speak to the way that we live our story, this to a very large extent is about the way that we tell our story, which is also a part of our lived experience. And so how we connect with alumni, how we bring donors into the community, the university community, and other partners such as community organizations, and that really is what external partnerships is all about. So moving on, next slide, please. Can I get the next slide? Oh, okay. Our highlights. So since the strategic plan was initially passed, we've completed the UHD Here We Go campaign. We exceeded our goal by quite a bit in fundraising, and that's really the basis for a lot of our optimism going into fundraising for the remainder of this bridge plan. We also in media relations and in university relations, we have exceeded goals to a very large extent, and so we have updated what it is we're trying to accomplish in the next few years based upon that. In large part, thanks to our fundraising excellence over the course of the campaign, we were recognized, the university, for the first time ever with a CASE Educational Fundraising Award. In regards to the way that we interact with legislators and other members of the community, other decision makers, UHD Day at the state capitol happens to be today for the first time ever online. So we encourage everyone in the university community to participate in that. This is the way that we are able to share with state policymakers how really all of the progress that's been discussed over the course of this webinar, and the direction that we intend to go with the proper resources from the state of Texas. Certainly one of the recurring themes over the course of our discussion today is that UHD is under-resourced, and the only way we're going to get beyond that is by our connections with our community partners, as well as with our legislators and policymakers in Austin. We'll also talk a little bit about the Near Northside Community Program. Dr. Gulati will get to that in just a bit. Next slide, please. So objectives 1 through 4 remain largely unchanged, but we are updating our targets. So prospective student leads, we actually have in a couple of different areas, we have improved data systems, which will allow for us to modify our tracking, and we're able to be a little more precise with what it is we're trying to accomplish based upon the data that's available to us. So in regards to prospective student leads, we have new technologies that allow us to have a better handle on those. So we're increasing that target from 450 to 500, for example. Also, alumni participation. We have a better use of our data system. We actually, in advancement, which is what we use to track our alumni giving, and we're able now to use that to track partners and alumni as they volunteer, as we have them signed up on email lists, as we have them coming to events. And so our alumni participation is expanding. The way that we measure that is expanding from just their giving to the way that they're actively engaged in the university. Another shift that we've decided to make, that our group has decided to make in regards to objectives 1 through 4, is to increasingly look at growth goals rather than fixed goals. We are where we are. We have opportunities to expand beyond where we have been in the past. And the best way for us, we feel, for the course of this bridge plan, is to try to move the ball from where we are, rather than trying to meet arbitrary standards for university communities nationally that really are not our peers, which is where a lot of these metrics that were used in the prior plan came from. Next slide, please. Dr. Gulati, is this, oh no, this is still mine, or is this yours?
This is mine.
Okay, all right.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, and thank you for joining us to find out about the strategic bridge plan. So as Jacob mentioned, we've been working on the external partnerships goal, and there were 4 objectives in this goal. And for the most part, the objectives remain the same, but the targets have been we've recommended different things for the targets. So I'll just go through a couple of them, and then we have a new objective that I'll tell you about in the next slide. So the first objective was to enhance awareness of UHD as a quality institution of higher education. And so this is basically means connections with the media. And so we're saying that we're going to go from 12 media mentions per month to 30. And from 30,000 social media connections to 65,000. So we're doing really well in this area. And I think, these are reasonable targets. We want to increase external funding from philanthropic sources. That's objective 2. And we want to raise that from about $4.5 million to $5 million per year by 2024. Jacob talked quite a bit about engaging alumni and others, community members in what we do. And we've really become quite good at this. There's a lot more alumni participation in events that are held at the university and in the community. And we want to increase that participation. As Jacob mentioned, we're talking about increasing rather than looking at specific numbers. So we have a goal of 5% annual growth in alumni donors and also 5% increase in alumni participation. And then for the fourth objective, strengthen relationships with elected officials and community partners, we didn't propose any changes for that. We do really well in this. As you're all aware, we have a lot of elected officials and people running for office that come to the community, come to the university. There's a Greater Grit series that brings a lot of people. And, you know, we have at the Center for Community Engagement, we have a lot of events where we invite elected officials. So we're doing quite well in this area, and we didn't think we needed to make any changes. Next slide, please. So this is our last slide, and this is for a new objective that we're proposing. And this is primarily to increase the university's profile in civic engagement. So the objective reads, strengthen strategic outreach and engagement efforts to elevate the university's profile as an engaged contributor to civic life. So we do have the Center for Community Engagement. We do a little bit of civic engagement, but I know that Dr. Wendy Lawrence and students from SGA are really working to enhance that profile now, and we're hoping that civic engagement becomes much bigger with UHD engaged in the community. So what we have seen is about 13% of students participating in community engagement activities. We'd like to raise that to at least 15%. And we also would like to continue to increase student participation by 5% annually. We'd like to achieve a 10% annual participation rate among faculty and staff, both in the independent and UHD affiliated activities in the community. Currently, we have about 8% of the staff participating. Faculty participation is a little low, but we don't have the exact percentage, but we'd really like to have faculty engage more. And this is really nice because it's alongside students, and I think the students really appreciate when faculty and staff are with them and administrators. So we'd like to increase that as well. So that is it for our presentation, and we'd be happy to take your questions at this time, or if you think of them later. Thank you.
Dr. Gulati, we have a question from Dr. Crone. Is the participation for FTIC or all students? Now our activities directed at lower division students, and how can we better engage transfer students? So a couple of different points there.
Yeah, so this is all students, Travis, that we, so we track how many students participate. I don't think we've looked at just FTICs, but we definitely can do that. We can disaggregate the data. And we, we're working with the Accelerated Transfer Academy more now too, to see if we can engage more transfer students. For some of the activities that we have, we actually get peer leaders, and we have recruited from the Accelerated Transfer Academy program. So
I think we may have lost Dr. Gulati. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Thank you, Travis. Okay, that's it for us. We appreciate your participation today.
Thanks, Jacob. Thanks, Dr. Gulati. Travis, if that needs to be expanded on, just shoot us an email or shoot Dr. Gulati an email, and she can expand on that for you. The last presenter of the day will be Dr. Blake. He is here presenting for administration and infrastructure. And here we go.
Thank you, Bobby. I'd like to first thank all the members of the subcommittee that have worked with us to produce this, and also thank my my co-chair, Dr. Maritza Temez, Dean of. So we had 6 objectives with the Administration and Infrastructure Subcommittee. The first deals with the recruitment and retainment of, Bobby, is my video running now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, there we go. So to recruit and retain qualified staff. So the goal was to maintain average staff salaries at 90 to 95% of Coupa data, and this would be done by ensuring salary levels for staff are competitive. The objective was met within a few divisions, particularly with administrative staff at 97.5, IT at 91, and police at 112. The average of staff salaries overall met averages of 89% according to our Coupa data. And the results of this is that many departments continue to hire below market rates. UHD is committed to continue striving to meet this target by reaching a salary average rate of 90 to 95%. And it's allocated funds for a competitive market study that has just begun. When the study is finalized and salary adjustments are made, UHD will make additional strides to hire all personnel at 90% of the market moving forward. A second target from Objective 1 from the 2015-2020 strategic plan was to increase staff to faculty ratio from its current 1.54 to 1 to 1.7.5 to 1 by 2020. And by 2024, the recommended goal is 2 to 1. So also a recommendation from this work group is based on the feedback we received from the campus survey is to refine the title of Objective 1 to reflect recruitment of high-performing individuals, which reaches beyond that of recruiting qualified staff. So additionally, there's the advancement of equity inclusion among all employees and recognizing the importance of campus climate. Work in this area has already begun with the newly formed Equity and Diversity Committee appointed by Interim President Tillis, and there are plans to administer a staff climate survey in summer of 2021. Another recommendation is to change base salary averages on market rates rather than Coupa data, because Coupa data does not capture all staff positions. And the last recommendation for this objective is to have at least 85% of new hires score meets expectation on their probationary evaluation. Objective 2, and this goal is focuses on increasing organizational development and learning opportunities for staff. The prior strategic plan states that at least 30% of all staff will participate in staff development courses offered annually. During fiscal year 20, employment and services operations achieved a 62.5 participation rate and is looking for ways to increase participation, especially online options and incentives for attending. So the talent development team within ESO offered needs-based training at least twice a month related to competency models, needs, employee relation issues, and departmental requests. Over 50 Gator learning courses were also developed since May of 2018. Talent development also expanded onboarding for staff by including new presenters in areas of Title IX, IT security, and staff council for all staff. There's also been a launch of the management development program for newly promoted managers. This program is mandatory for all new managers and combines procedural knowledge with management leadership skills training. And a recommendation from recent survey feedback is to change Objective 2 from increase to provide effective organizational development and learning opportunities for staff, as well as to add the target that at least 85% of participants who participate in a learning activity will agree or strongly agree that it was effective and useful. Objective 3 is community engagement, and the 2015-2020 strategic plan focused on encouraging community engagement among all employees with a target that at least 50% of all staff will participate in at least one community and civic engagement opportunity. While well-intended, this work group did not believe that the objective belonged under Goal 6, and therefore we are recommending that it be revised or removed entirely. Objective 4, technology. IT worked to employ technology strategically in a way that empowered the university to attain its goals while supporting faculty, students, and staff effectively. The targets from the 2015-2020 strategic plan were to maintain a 99.9 system uptime and maintain overall satisfaction rate of technology services at a minimum of 90%. Both targets were met. Other accomplishments included implementing cloud-based systems and other technologies on and off campus. IT increased access and effectiveness. UHD also transitioned from banner student information to PeopleSoft campus solutions. This dramatically changed the student, faculty, and staff experience when accessing student-related information, allows updated platform for an access to services and information, a portal for faculty engagement with student records and class scheduling, and a redesign of UHD business processes to support student information system and enhanced reporting and data analysis capabilities. HIPS and community engagement were supported through the implementation of campus groups last year. To maintain high performance, IT is moving the website to Blackboard. Moving the website and Blackboard to the cloud, adding power, resiliency, and addressing hurricane preparedness. One main recommendation for this objective is to add a strategy that assesses EAB. Campus infrastructure was objective 5. Facilities management maintain an infrastructure and campus environment that supports the needs of the UHD community. They achieved their targets by completing work orders at a rate of 89% within 3 days due to better prioritization and achieving their goal to complete 90% of all service order requests within 20 business days, which has been met 95% of the time through the redistribution of personnel to better address work orders. Facilities management also reduced energy consumption per square foot per year, which represented a 15% per year cost reduction that is largely led by reduced electricity consumption. They also have a current 4-year plus period of zero lost time as an employee safety record, and they are working to make this a 5-year accomplishment. Objective 6, campus safety. The objective 6 of goal 6 focuses on expanding and strengthening emergency preparedness and campus safety. Targets include holding fire and evacuation drills twice a year in each building and implementing mandatory viewership of campus carry training videos, both of which were met. Thus, the recommendation for the new strategic plan is to add a target related to preparedness for other types of emergencies. Regarding strategies, we recommend keeping 6.1 and add this type of training to ESO mandatory trainings. Secondly, we recommend keeping 6.4 that focuses on the evaluation of campus safety and emergent preparedness, which we recommend conducting each semester given our current conditions. Strategies 6.2, 6.3, and 6.5 were met and recommended for removal or revision. A few accomplishments to note for this objective. The implementation of biannual fire evacuation and lockdown drills to test the campus life safety programs and foster a safety culture. UHD also implemented an annual review of its emergency management plan and continuity of operations plan. UHD Police engages with the community by hosting the National Night Out and Safety and Security seminars. Police also installed hundreds of security cameras and call boxes throughout the UHD campus, as well as enhanced exterior lighting. And as the COVID-19 pandemic spread in early 2020, the Office of Emergency Services partnered with all campus divisions to mobilize and implement safety initiatives to limit the spread of the virus on campus. This is the end of the recommendations for the Administration and Infrastructure Committee, and we'll take questions at this point.
I don't see any questions in the chat, but if you have any questions, you can ask them now or get back to us on any of those targets and objectives.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Moritz and Dr. Blake. Does anyone have any questions before we go into the final Q&A? If anyone has any questions for Ron and myself. It's all yours.
Just a reminder, if you do have questions or if you want to make additional comments, we would ask you to go to the Strategic Plan Bridge website. And there is a link there to add any comments or feedback that you would like to have considered additional to what we have here. And you can, this video and the video from tomorrow will also eventually find its way to the Strategic Bridge Plan webpage once we have finished both town halls. I don't see any further questions in the Q&A. So we would like to thank you all for your time. And again, it's a lot of information. If there's some things that are sticking in the back of your head, please go back to the videos on the webpage and review those for more details. You may also contact either Bobby or me, or you can contact any of the work group chairs directly with any feedback or questions that you may have.
Just a final note, if you register for tomorrow's, after you watch the videos, you can submit a question for the working groups, and it's going to be the same presentation, but you may have a little bit more of an understanding if you weren't able to watch the videos prior to. Initially, it was set up to where once you register, when you register, you can see all of the videos. Take advantage of that opportunity to do so again today if you need to.
Well, to the sounds of crickets chirping, we thank you very much for your time and look forward to any additional feedback that you have. Thank you.
Thank you.